least it's 1 minute till whenever I looked, so hopefully this delay will show up at the right time. I just wanted to introduce myself really quickly. My name's Elizabeth Rackley. Some of you guys might know me, some of you guys might not. That's perfectly fine. I just think you should know a little bit about my story and why this is so important for us to do this. Because we gather strength by knowing each other's stories to a certain extent, knowing that other people have made it through some difficult times. My husband and I have been married for 22 years. We're going on 23. He started out as actually a federal corrections officer, and then now he went to the Army from that. And right away in the Army, he was deployed twice within our first 3 years of marriage. So we only had about a year and a half together. During that time, I was pregnant with our daughter, and there was times of conflict. There was some stuff that happened, and I had to learn how to protect myself and our unborn daughter really quickly from all the stress and the anxiety that happened, because it was ruling my world. It was taking me down, and so I had to do this. So I want to share some of this stuff with you guys. Also, from there, he went straight to being a police officer. He's been a police officer for 20 years now. He has not all been here at Louisville Metro, but he has been in some tough scrapes. We have had some scary things happen, and we have had to deal with a lot of stuff like you guys are having to deal with for the first time now. Now, that creates a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety. And it takes its toll on the guys. And this past winter, it had hit a point that it was just too much. This type of trauma creates lasting problems. And the way we deal with it and the way we cope with it dictates how much we're going to have problems in the future from it. And how are we going to handle those when they do show up? Because they are going to show up. All of our experiences of life create other problems or good things. So let's see if we can find a way to make good things. Because when he fell apart, I do mean he fell apart. And he said he's okay with me telling you this. He had quit drinking because that was his crutch, alcohol. He quit drinking. He fell into a depression. He couldn't think clearly. He had a breakdown. And I had no one to call. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. And I felt completely and totally alone. We are not alone. That is something I learned through this. I just happened to call the right person who was sitting with the right person at the right time, in the right place, in the right frame of mind. And from there, I started finding out this was not uncommon. This was not something we should be embarrassed of. This is not something we should be hiding from. This is something that we could have gotten help for all along, but we didn't know where to turn. And I didn't know what to do in my household. So I want to enable you guys. I want to help you guys not get where I was. Help your officer not get to where he could be headed. Let's not do this. So one of the ways was fixing myself. One of the ways was fixing our home. What I could do, what I could control, what could I take care of in my life while everything else was spiraling out of control. So I want this to be very positive. This should be empowering. Knowledge is power. Let's empower ourselves, spouses, because when we empower ourselves, we gain control. We gain control over just that little bit, a teeny bit of the world that we have. And then we help our spouses through this, because make no bones about it, this is rough. But we can make it through this. So I want to introduce to you Dr. Michael Freville, and he is the counselor. Hey. He's the counselor for your officers. He's the official go-to guy. Anything goes down, guess who they call? Oh. So he has, he's been doing this with us since 2012. A lot of you guys don't even know he exists. Now you do. It's time to utilize his services. Sorry, I know you're going to be busy. He had 30 years in the Army, and he specialized in helping soldiers and families deal with the stresses of multiple deployments and long periods of separation. This is very much like a deployment. I've been through them. I'm going to tell you it's very much like it. you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's happening, are they safe, are they not? The good thing about us, I'll say something positive, is that they are coming home every night, or at least in the wee hours of the morning. So we do know they're still alive at the end of the day. So that is a big, big plus. So hang on to the positives here. But Dr. Freville is very familiar with what our officers are going through. And he knows that a strong officer starts with a strong family and a strong support. So my hope is that, you know, this will give the spouses a way to understand what they're going through and what we can do to help ourselves and help them. Keep this a very positive space, people, because we are our support network. We are here for each other. Each of us as spouses, we are here for each other, okay? So, Dr. Freville, let's talk about this.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, so first of all, let's discuss fear. So many of us are scared. I mean, just outright scared. What has us so scared? What exactly is it we are so scared of?
Good starting point question. Let me also say I deeply appreciate the role all of you play in supporting your spouse and in overall law enforcement, because you really are a support fixture of law enforcement in general. You have a very important and critical function. The way I put it is, you all are unsung heroes, unsung angels, etc., and you just don't get enough credit. I said that to many Army spouses, and for many years, you don't get enough credit. But I know you're not even looking for credit. You'd rather be the unsung, and that's okay. But I just want to set the record straight that I personally deeply appreciate the role you play with your spouse in law enforcement. So you talk about being fearful.
Right, so many of us are
scared.
scared, yeah.
Just a quick little definition of the two things. Being scared is an emotional reaction to something. It's not based on any facts whatsoever. It's just a feeling. I'm scared of whatever. Fear is actually an intellectual term, a cognitive term. Fear is based on facts. If you know the facts about a dangerous situation,
Mm-hmm.
then it's okay to be fearful, because you can deal with fear. You can look at the facts and you can make a choice. Am I going to let that control me, or am I going to look at it rationally and know that some things may not ever happen? Being scared is like a deep human feeling or reaction, not based on facts. So
Okay.
I just wanted you to know that. I think a lot of people are scared, but if you ask them exactly what they're scared of, maybe they can't put it into details, but I think most of the time they're really fearful of, they know the facts. They know it, you all know exactly what your spouse is pretty much going into day to day.
Right.
You knew this before the present series of community events unfolded. You knew pretty much what your spouse was going into mostly day to day, and you dealt with it, and you're still dealing with it. Now, things have amped up, let's be real.
Oh, they've gotten crazy, so
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's really, really amped up, and I can tell you, I have seen the officers at various locations on the line, etc. They are doing such a marvelous job individually and as teams. So they may not hear that enough. Media may not portray that enough.
but they're doing good out there.
But they're doing very, very good, and we need to give them huge hugs and pats on the back.
Okay. So what you're saying is that the fear is mostly stuff, we're just scared of things that haven't happened. We're scared of the what if.
Exactly.
So what do? How do we get out of that? So if we're scared of the what if, and the what if hasn't happened, how do we deal with that? How do we stop ourselves from spiraling out of control? Because I know once you get there, once you start that, and once you start that oh my gosh, what if this and what if that? Am I going to see this on the news? Am I going to see that on the news? Is my husband going to get shot? Is he getting shot? Is he having to shoot somebody? What is that going to do to our family? What's it going to do to our home? These are all things that I know run through my mind. So how do I get out of that? How do we get to the other side and calm our butts down?
Very good. Take a chill pill.
Thank you.
And those are very rational and legitimate fears.
Okay.
Because let's face it, police officers, part of their sworn commitment is to protect and stop threats and all that. And sometimes that means pulling their weapon and and taking control of certain situations as needed. So what I describe this whole phenomenon of the fear cycle is, I call it rut behavior or negative thinking. Now it's normal. So I'm asking you ask yourself as I'm saying this, is what he's saying apply to me? Do I find myself too often in a rut?
Sure.
Of daily, of the same time every day almost, like cue it on signal. I'm going into a rut, negative thinking. What are some of the things that are contributing to that? Media. It could be you're watching the TV too much. When's the last time you watched and you put on your happy face like something really great was happening? Probably been a while.
That's really hard to do right now.
It's
I
very
know
hard.
that every time I get wound up, it's because I turned on the TV.
Right. And then there's other social media outlets that.
Oh, Facebook.
So what am I saying? I am saying you're in more control than you know. And what I'd like you to do, what I suggest you do, is exercise that control for your own benefit and turn the stuff off or leave it off.
Right.
Or severely limit your time and exposure to it, and you be in the driver's seat.
Let me interject right here. During that deployment that I referenced earlier, I was pregnant, and I wasn't just slightly pregnant either. And I was alone, and far away from my family, and I kept watching the TV. And I kept watching the TV and watching the TV, and I'd get more and more upset. And that affected not just my body, but the body of my unborn child. Now, had my child been with me, I would have, a toddler or older, I would still have been affecting my child. And we would have been wound up together and freaking out together because there was nothing to calm me down. I called my girlfriends. I called other people in the same state. And we were sitting there and we were winding each other up. Did you see this? Did you see that? Oh my gosh, this is on. Did you check that channel? Oh my gosh, turn it on. All of a sudden, I had a moment and I said, that's it. I have to turn this off or I am going to lose my mind. I turned it off. I walked outside and took a deep breath. And I posted that the other night when some of us were having troubles. Turn it off, walk away. Because it did not even take a full 30 minutes. Not even a full 30 minutes before I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. I just felt like a whole different person. An hour went by, 2 hours. I actually went to sleep that night for the first night in I don't know how long. And the next day, people were talking about it, getting wound up, and I said, turn it off. Turn it off. And the more of my friends that turned it off, the better we felt. So that is excellent advice. I know firsthand it works.
But it took you a while to get there to figure that out.
I was exhausted with the freak out.
Yeah.
In technical term, right?
You were exhausted and you were in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you knew it, but you didn't know it.
I
You
knew
were
it, and
aware
I
of it.
didn't know how to get out of it. I did not have an alternative.
Right, right.
So what do we do when we're there?
Well, as you said, disengage. Take control. Disengage from negativity as much as you can. It is a poison that will never do you any good. Now, I'm not just talking about technical stuff, the TVs, social media outlets and all that. Let's be blunt. There are some people that are toxic, especially right now. Stressful, trying times, for whatever reason, brings out sometimes the worst in some people.
Right.
It can bring out the best too.
Mhm.
And all of you know some people that are responding really great to these trying times. And that's wonderful. But I'm afraid, the truth is that that this will bring out the poisonous, toxic people, and they really probably don't mean to do you any good. So please,
Right.
I believe in empowerment.
Right.
I want to empower you to feel good about the word no. There's a lot of power in the word no.
It doesn't have to be a fight. It just has to say, no, I'm not going to talk about this right now, right?
Exactly.
No, I'm not going to come over there where I know everybody is going to badmouth my spouse.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You know who your trusted agents are in your life. That's who you need to be giving your time and energy to right now.
Right, and I think we know who the trusted people are. We as spouses have to make sure we are not tearing each other down right now. We are the only ones who truly understand what each other are going through. So we are the trusted ones. You have some family members that are doing their best to understand, and some of us have some toxic family members. We have some toxic workmates. We have toxicity all around us. So are you saying it's okay to kind of pull in, not isolate from everything, but to pull in, kind of rally the troops? Is that what you're saying? Bring everybody around us, protect ourselves by surrounding each other.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah, exactly. It's very healthy to insulate yourself as practical from known enemies, shall we say? The toxic group. You just don't. If an activity or a person is not contributing to your mental health, especially during these times, stay away. Which brings up a topic of please don't feel guilty about taking care of yourself right now.
Right.
I want to use the analogy of when you get on an airplane, if you remember airplanes and people getting on airplanes. And
While we could still travel, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But during the safety brief, the flight attendant that you normally sleep through it, I understand, but the flight attendant would talk about in the case of total disaster, the oxygen tube is going to deploy.
Right.
And come down, and what do you do? What is it that person tells you? Put it on yourself first, and then children or whoever you're with in your family circle there.
Right, because you can't help anyone else.
If you can't breathe.
Right, if you can't breathe, if you are completely out of it, what good are you to your family? What good are you to the people who need you?
Exactly, and I know that's maybe just a simple analogy, but what I'm saying is empower yourself to take good care of yourself first, and that is the greatest gift you can then give your spouse or any other family members.
That's great. So to do that, we're turning off the TV, we're stepping away from it. There's nothing on there we need to see right now anyway. We know our spouse is safe, and if our spouse isn't safe, someone's going to let us know. That's the cold hard facts, people. We will get a call, okay? Or knock. Do not drive yourself mad by watching the TV and thinking you're going to see it. I don't want to see it. Nobody needs to see it, okay? So don't do that. So we're turning off the TV, we're walking away, we're surrounding ourselves with the people we know understand us, we know that love us, or at least care enough about us to not hurt us. We are creating a safe space for ourselves. So that doesn't mean our stress is gone. So I know that just the other day, I lashed out at my daughter. What was she doing? She questioned something. She just happened to question something. Well, is this chicken you got me? Yeah, it's chicken. You don't like it? Don't eat it. You know, is that really nice? No, she's stressed out too, but I lashed out because I was stressed. What do we do when we screw up?
Well, that again, great question. We all, during these times, can have hair triggers. We all can have reactions quicker and more intense than we may have had a month ago even.
Right.
Okay.
I know I'm much shorter tempered, and it's not pretty some days.
Exactly. We're human. Great point. Please accept yourself as a human being.
Okay.
We're all perfectly imperfect, okay? I've never met anybody perfect yet, including myself. We're all perfectly imperfect. And be kind to yourself. So what are some other things we can do? I have a saying that some of your spouses have heard me say in roll calls and other places, and that is motion replaces emotion.
Okay.
What does that mean? That means that the way the human mind is wired, one way to get us out of what I called that rut thinking.
Right.
That
Right. So we're saying,
spiral.
I'm scared. I'm a terrible person. I'm screwing this up.
Cycle, the
Yes.
negative cycle of self-talk.
Right.
Everything's bad,
Everything's terrible things are going to happen.
nothing good
Yes.
out there, which is all, those are feelings, but it's not rational. It's not
Okay.
rational. There are facts to show that there are, even at this moment, there are good things happening everywhere.
Right.
They're drowned out. The noise is drowning us out right now. I get it.
It's been a
It's
long
easy.
time. We've been in the house. We've been secluded.
Yeah.
We've been around each other. We were ready to get out. We thought we were coming out to the other side, and now we're watching terrible
Yeah.
things.
And.
It's it's this is going to happen and
Yeah.
that's going to happen. So is it okay to say to ourselves, okay, yes, I'm scared. Yes, I'm worried. But I know that my spouse has had the training to get to the other side of this. I know my spouse is protected by those that he works with because he protects them as well. Or she protects them as well.
Exactly, yeah. And that's rational thinking. And
Right.
that, you're saying it right now.
Okay.
And when you say it out loud, because human beings, the way we are, when we say things out loud,
Mm-hmm.
it has a whole lot more power
Right.
and believability than when we rattle them around between our ears. That's not nearly as powerful in believability as when you say it out loud. So again, the motion replaces emotion. Move. Do something. Keep moving during the day. It's just the way we are. If we just sit and ruminate and let negativity just keep fogging up our mind space, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. It's unhealthy.
So say it out loud and just say it out loud what's going on in your head, but also say, but I know this is good, that is good, this is good, this is another positive. Find the positives to change the way our brain is.
Switch it.
Switch it. So we have
Flip
the power to do
switch.
that.
Flip the switch, yes. And it takes a little work. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not magic. It's not hocus pocus. It takes a little work. but your brain likes change. It really does if it's for an improvement. So many of us right now are in a natural funk of negative thinking and that cycle. And
Okay.
what does that do? Because we're human, that's easy for that to spread to the next family member nearest us in the house.
So then the kids get upset.
And they're like
Scared.
sponges.
They do, yes.
They're
We
like
set the tempo.
sponges.
We set the tempo for the household.
You're the role model.
Yeah.
So, yeah, keep moving. Hobbies, interest, activities. I know many of you don't have, sometimes you'll say, I don't have an extra minute, and I believe you.
Sure.
But when you do have that extra minute, take it for yourself. Take it for yourself and feel good about it. That's my prescription to you.
Well, you had mentioned to me earlier when we were speaking that humor. Turn on a funny movie,
Yes, it's amazing.
right? Turn on, just leave the broadcast off, leave the other stuff off, but watch something that takes you out of your space, right?
Yes,
out of your
definitely.
head. Something, I know that I have laughed so hard when I've been emotional and distraught, and the laughter feels weird and wrong, but then I cry a little too, but yet I'm still laughing, and it feels so good.
Yes.
So
yeah.
so find some things to make yourself laugh. It's okay. You're not disrespecting your
Oh,
spouse.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's one way to provide support. Again, healthier you, ultimately healthier spouse.
Right. And they've got to have something positive to come home to. They are surrounded by negative their entire shift. They are overwhelmed. If they come home and you are overwhelmed and hitting them with stuff, I believe you told me that's setting them up for more stress, correct?
Well, it just contributes to the cycle. I firmly believe, I've talked to a lot of officers, they want to come home and not bring it in the door. They really, deep down, they
Right.
don't want to bring it in the door. Many don't know how to do that. They just plain don't know how to do that. You're not a miracle worker, okay? All the responsibility of that is not on you,
It's good
but
to know.
it is, you can only do what you can do. Your spouse has to do what they can do. I tell them all the time, some officers tell me, I've never told my spouse one thing about what I do. For whatever reason, to protect them, to not make them worry and stuff.
Mhm.
Well, guess what? That just makes it worse.
Right.
If
Because
if
we
I
all
leave you in the
know.
dark.
We already know, don't we? So.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Who you fooling?
Right.
I firmly believe in if you all want to have a ground rule of 5 minutes of
Okay.
dumping, and I know many spouses work too. So,
Right, because
you
we
know,
are under a lot of stress.
you got your own
Almost all of
stress.
us have full-time jobs, and many of us have children.
Yeah.
And so we are
Juggling.
going nonstop, which again is why the self-care is so important, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's a gift you give yourself.
Right, and in turn you give your family. It's not selfish to say, Mommy needs 5 minutes. Mommy needs a couple minutes here just alone. I love you. I'll see you in a minute. So when the spouse comes in the door, you're saying give them a few minutes. I mean, we don't have to pretend like the world is sunshine and roses right now. We don't want to hit them with all the misery of our day and all our stresses, right? We just want to give them a few minutes. We can give them a hug. I love you. I'm glad to see you. And give them some space. Is that right?
Yeah, everybody has their own style. Some people just want to sit and stare at nothing for 5 minutes.
So we shouldn't freak out if they're just sitting there and staring at nothing.
Don't take it personally.
It's not about us, right?
Really, it's not.
Okay.
And then 12-hour shifts they're experiencing now, and during normal times, right now it's longer.
Okay.
But even back, in the normal times, most officers have 12-hour shifts. It can wear on them. They're human. I tell officers all the time, you get up a human being, you go to bed a human being. Just because you wear a certain uniform in between those two things doesn't mean you can't, you don't have all your human feelings and emotions.
Right.
You're not, I've never met RoboCop yet. There are no RoboCops. They're all human beings.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So we can give them some space. It doesn't mean we isolate ourselves from them. We just give them some space for a few minutes to gather themselves. If that's what they need. If they just want to come in and spend a lot of time with us and they say that's what they need, let them do it.
Yes, yes.
But it's about kind of meeting them where they're at and not pushing them. But we do need to create a safe space, right? We need to be able to
Yes.
make it okay for them to share without us breaking down. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Okay.
right. So let's before we get further along here, let's address what I call the elephant in the living room. Because we don't need to be walking around the elephant and everybody looks the other way. I don't know what that is.
Right. We all know it's there.
Yeah.
So what
yeah.
is it?
So right now, why are we even here right now? Because there are some factual
Right.
circumstances going on in our community, fact, and in our department, fact, that a lot of people are being stressed out about.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're human, top to bottom here. The facts are, where the community tensions, they're real. And, the officers and the spouses cannot hide because the officer is reporting to duty to get into the mix of it.
Right.
You're not staying home at your little house in suburbia every day, watching soap operas.
Right. We cannot run away right now.
You cannot run away. You're fully engaged. The spouse is as engaged in their own way as the officer.
Okay.
They're probably some spouses would like to be standing right beside their officer.
Of course.
Many of the times here. So we have community stresses and events going on that are causing unusually long hours. Higher risk of harm, yes, that's a fact. It's
Right.
a risk.
We already know this. We're not saying this to wind you up. We already know this. We're just
Yeah.
addressing what we already know.
So let's just deal with the facts. Then, as Elizabeth alluded earlier, back in the old days, there was something going on called COVID-19.
Right? What happened to that?
Where'd that go?
Why
So-
do I want it back?
Exactly. Yeah, we'll take that back later.
Right. Oh
Right now.
gosh, it's awful.
Yeah. So,
So-
our human minds, it's amazing how they can flip to whatever's in front of us right now. A while back it was coronavirus. Okay, that's right. I got it right in my target inside.
It's
Got
all
it.
consuming,
And then-
overwhelming.
Overnight, boom, it gets pushed out the window.
For our new topic.
New topic. And so there you go. What's the bottom line? Bottom line is this is going to pass. This truly is a temporary phase and part of your life, and even the life of our community, if you look at for the community business going on.
Things will change, and
Yes.
but this level that we are at, that will also change. It cannot stay here. This level will change, and that's what you're saying, is that we will come to the other side in one way or another. This level of misery and stress and anxiety that we're all under, we will have a time to calm back down. Think about it, guys. 9/11 happened. We thought our worlds had ended for how long? Now, we've had a lot of wonderful good years, and then another thing happened, and then another thing happened, but in between, what's happening? Calm. There's calm, there's good things, right? So that's what you're saying, is that this is temporary, and keep that in mind. Although it feels like it's lasting forever, although there's the fears attached, which we are acknowledging, the positive is this will not last forever.
Exactly. Your officers are going to duty, excuse me, as individuals, but when they get there, they become a part of a bigger team.
Yes.
Okay, and generally that team is very cohesive. They take care of each other. They have each other's back. Person on their left, person on their right, they trust them. And you got that sense of group safety and teamwork. Spouses don't have that. You are pretty much as individuals. You're in your home. You don't go and then suddenly you're around 100 other spouses where you have just a incredible teamwork going on. You're
Right.
pretty much
It's
in
a
your
special
home.
event only. It's not a normal work week for us, no.
Exactly. So that is a reality. You may not feel you may not have feel that support like your spouse does when they're surrounded by that big team.
Which is why we have to reach out to each other right
Right.
now. We have to put aside our personality differences and any other little pet problems that we've had with each other. And because right now I am defining it as little pet problems, because we've got a bigger problem. And we need to stand as a unified front supporting each other. We need to give each other that support, because that's what we have. Some of us have very supportive families and others don't. So really quick before we touch on that, let's talk about we talked about the officer coming in, possibly needing to disengage for a little bit. What kinds of behaviors are we likely to see when it's getting to be too much for them?
The typical behaviors of when an officer is not dealing with stress
Okay.
effectively or in a healthy way, and this is across humanity, but people will become disengaged. They will be less conversant. They will be withdrawn. Some will start the high-risk behaviors, excessive drinking. If a person's habit is a mixed drink a day, and it's starting to gradually go up to 6, that is a big signal that they're not handling stress very well. Behavioral outburst where they used to not.
It's like kids come say, "Hey, mommy, daddy, give me a hug." They're like, "No."
Exactly. Yeah.
Get off! Leave me alone! Why don't you leave me alone?
Yes, and that is the outward behavior of pent-up frustration and stress.
Right.
And I tell them all the time, these things accumulate slowly, gradually. Sometimes you can't see them coming. It's that gradual downhill slope, I call it. And part of your job as a spouse is to help your spouse, your officer, if you see these signs and signals, then do the right thing for the right purposes and say something.
Right. So
Don't let it
it has to be a
spiral.
safe space where you're not pointing your finger, you're not yelling at them, you're not, laying blame, you're just saying, look, you could say, "I love you. I was having this problem and I caught myself doing this. This is what was suggested. It worked for me. Hey, do you think you want to try this?"
Yeah.
Or see you or therapist like you.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Just going back to what we said originally, want you to feel good and empowered. The sky truly is not falling in on us. This is a temporary thing. We will weather the storm, come out of it stronger. Would you agree?
I agree. And the difficulties that we have faced in our lives up to this point with these jobs, with all these stresses, I will say that the sun always does come out. Not when you want it to lots of times, but it's there. It comes out, and it is all temporary. You just, right now, it's teamwork. It's teamwork as us with spouses sticking together and helping reduce the stress for our officers by reducing the stress for ourselves. And it's teamwork with your spouse. You may be taking on other roles within the home that you didn't really want to do, but guess what? They're working a 12-hour shift or longer and getting up and going at it again, and they're physically and emotionally exhausted. You just have to do it.
Yep.
But you're going to do what you can to take care of yourself. You told me earlier sleep. Sleep was huge.
It is. It's most humans don't get enough of it, and then your spouse, your officer, is getting less probably right now than in a long time. Again, it's temporary. As of yesterday, I was in a group of officers. Excuse me. And how many days have they been in this tension-filled, long
Right.
day cycle? A number of days. And some of them said, it's really weird. My body is starting to actually adjust. It seems like to
Really?
this. They hate it. They do.
Right.
They're doing their duty.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. But they're human, and they're tired. But they're gonna keep at it. And you all are such a critical support system. But don't think it's all on you.
No.
It is not. You have a right to your own thoughts, feelings, and human reactions to all of this.
So honor that, but take care of yourself, not just emotionally with the tools that we gave you, but also physically. Take your time to get some sleep. It's okay. You'll know when they come home. You can even say, this is what I say to my husband. Just tap me, say, hey, I'm home. That way I can go to sleep and not be afraid that I've missed him. I can go to sleep and know that it's going to be okay. I'm going to find out later, because if I don't have my sleep, I can't function. I can't think clearly. I can't keep my emotions in check, and I can't carry on with the job. So I hope that this really helps everybody. We really hope that this helps everybody. I hope you've taken some notes. I hope you guys talk about this with each other.
Yeah, keep doing it.
We don't want to keep going on and bore everybody, so we want to do a quick question and answer here. We've got 3.
Well, I have 3 that I got while you were
Okay,
doing that.
so let's answer just a couple really quick that we already had. Well, and we're gonna hit this and go on. What do we tell our children, and what is age appropriate? And especially if you have multiple ages in the house.
And that you can pick the topic. How do we tell the children whatever? The death of Uncle Joe. The puppy died. You name it. How do you tell children anything like that? And the answer I always give is, your children. It must be kept at the level of comprehension.
Okay.
Most parents make the mistake of over-explaining things.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Okay.
Children, just about all children want a simple answer, brief, and that's all they want. They move on.
Right.
They don't want you to keep yakking, digging a hole even deeper. Just keep it simple. No BS, but no harsh reality of overdoing it that they just can't fathom.
Right, they can't understand a lot of stuff, so keep it simple. If I believe if they're older and they're asking more detailed questions, you can definitely discuss that with them. But again, don't overwhelm them. They don't want to know all the details. Basically, what they want to know is, am I safe? Is
Yes.
Daddy, Mommy safe? Are we safe?
That's it.
Am I still loved because I'm not seeing them very much? In other words,
That's
am
it.
I safe? So keep it simple, right?
Keep it
Right.
simple.
All right, so all of us have some family members that just don't get it. We're going to assume these people are outside of our walls. What do we do when there's members of our own family that are not supportive of our officers or us?
You may remember I talked earlier about toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're people that should not be, theoretically should not be toxic people. They're extended family.
Right.
And they should, of all the people, they should be in the circle of trusted supporters. But not everybody is. Stressful times brings out both the best and the worst in some people. Some of you may be experiencing some family members that are giving you a bad time right now, a hard time. I would suggest strongly, if you can, disengage for the time being. Again, take care of yourself. Some people don't know how to express emotion or feelings or thoughts during stressful times. Perhaps you're experiencing that with a family member. They don't know how to express, they could be actually sincerely afraid and
Mhm.
fearful of what your officer is going through. Don't know how to maturely convey that.
But you can say, no, we're not going to have this conversation, and you can walk away, right?
No. Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of power in the use of the word no appropriately.
Right.
A lot of power.
It's not disowning your family. It's not saying something nasty to them in hateful words. It's like, no, not right now, and walking away, right?
Exactly.
And wait till some of the emotions have calmed down, and then have a honest talk with each other, right?
That's right. It's
And
not a
listen
race.
to each other, but not right now when you're in emergency mode. If it's too much for you,
Right.
it's too much, and it's okay.
It is.
You're fine. All right, so we had someone ask, their fiance is an officer, and they also support the movement of what's going on. How do they walk that line? How do they still show their fiance how much they love them and support them and care about them, and yet still be true to themselves with this?
Excellent. I've met a pretty good number of police couples, officer and spouse, who have varying opinions on you name it. You name it. Because, just because you marry someone that should not mean you lose your individuality at all.
Okay.
So you still have a full right to your opinions, feelings and thoughts on you name the topic. But every couple learns boundaries. You must learn boundaries of respect. Some couples are going to have diverse political views, but still love each other and respect each other. Don't pick a fight needlessly. Why do that? Why would anybody want to do that?
Right.
Needlessly? If you should be comfortable, safe space to express your opinion about something, especially current events going on right now, and without fear of being somebody jumped down your
Well,
throat.
how do you do that without them feeling betrayed?
Honesty.
Just be honest. and-
Preface
Okay.
your words with this.
Kindness.
This is not meant to betray you at all. I fully love and respect you.
And I support you and I know you.
Yes. And here is my thought on this topic.
So we can coexist, we can care about each other, support each other, and love each other, and we can do this.
Absolutely.
We can respect each other.
And it goes both ways.
Okay.
Everything I've talked about tonight goes both ways. That the responsibility is also on the officer to do all these things and essentially meet you halfway and work together.
Right, but it only works if you come to this with kindness and love and trust each other. So I know we have a couple more questions. What can we do?
Okay, so how to deal with an officer who is more of a private person and does not want to talk about the work at home?
So I don't know if you could hear it or not. How do you deal with an officer who's more of a private person and does not want to talk about the work at home?
Can I ask you, have you ever experienced that yourself?
Of course, there's things I cannot say or I just don't want to say because I don't want to upset my spouse.
Okay. And that's a good point because every couple, every relationship has rules of engagement.
Okay?
How you approach each other on anything.
But let's say I'm that person who just asked the question. I want to engage, but they don't, which makes me feel fearful and scared.
You can only do what you can do. You can politely ask and solicit communication. Let's address another elephant in the room. There comes a time in some relationships where if the roadblock is so big,
Mm-hmm.
then there's nothing wrong with seeking outside help.
Right, so once
To
again,
help deal.
we're back to, if they can't talk, find someone that's safe to talk to.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you do. You just, you wait for right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else do we have?
One more. So I understand that they're trained. What is the plan to get them some mental rest?
So the question was, I understand that they are trained, but what is the plan to get them some mental rest?
Well, I'm not privy to
Right.
that. I would obviously suggest people ask legitimate questions like that through their chain of command.
Mhm.
I did that in the Army all the time. What's the plan? What's the plan?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with asking, what's the plan?
Yeah, you're not insulting your chain of command, you're just asking for an answer.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that's a very legitimate one.
Okay.
Now, they're all in this together, you know. Everybody wants rest.
All of us do.
We want this over tonight.
Right.
Tonight.
Let's wave our magic wand while we're at it.
Yeah,
please.
it's over tonight. And okay, wake up. Okay. we
Right,
got
right.
that. But we're all in this together, and there's a beauty in that if you let it be that concept to you that we are all experiencing this together in your own way. It affects you, your spouse, your officer, and your family in your all's way, but overall, we are in this together.
So, I think to truly answer the question, it's to go back to where we were at in the beginning. What do we do to give our spouse that space, or to give them that mental rest? We make sure we've taken care of ourselves. Knowing that we're in this together, we seek out the support that we can from each other and from the professionals in our lives, or seek the professional help. And we get the tools, we work on these tools that we've been given tonight. Just because you know about them doesn't mean you're practiced at using them. Practice them. By taking care of yourself, you take care of your spouse.
Oh, yes.
Changing habits takes time. It's not overnight. Make yourself notes. Put stuff all over the house. Who cares if you look like your house is messy as a result and things aren't perfect. Who cares? You have to remind you, okay? Put the notes everywhere, deep breath, turn off the TV, walk away, do something funny, find something positive to think about, because you'll remember this, 5 minutes later you're gonna forget it.
True.
30 minutes later, you'll still be doing good. Oh, wait, now I'm stuck in a difficult, negative thought pattern again. Just keep it simple. Work the little tools, and they work.
Yes.
Right?
Stick with it.
All right, guys, we have gone on much longer than we expected. But again, let's love each other. Let's take care of each other. Let's support each other in this. Let's remind each other when our sister or brother is losing it here that it's okay. These are legitimate feelings. I love you. Remember this tool. Okay? All right, guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much. We'll try to bring you some more of these and see if we can come at some other angles to help you as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Freville. We really appreciate it.
I respect all of you all immensely.
All right. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Bye.